Nocturnal recaps here. Today I'm going to tell you about an Australian sci-fi movie called Otherlife.
A year in virtual confinement is a minute of your life.
The movie begins with a scene where siblings Ren and Jared are sitting on the ocean. The sister offers her brother to go swimming, but he is nervous because of the high waves. But Ren convinces her brother, and they dive in. Suddenly the world changes, and we see Ren sitting in her apartment. She has a black tear running down her cheek, and the floor is covered with empty vials of some kind of substance. A little later, Ren goes to work. There she is, a leading researcher in a company called Otherlife. One day, she managed to create special eye drops that can transport a person to a virtual reality indistinguishable from the real world. Thanks to this, a person can spend a day anywhere they want, although only a few seconds will pass in reality. This product is still under development, and Ren is actively testing it on herself to perfect it. But she also surreptitiously gives her development to her brother. It turns out that day at the beach, Jared drowned and fell into a coma. One day, while testing a snowboarding simulation, a system failure occurs and Ren spends much longer than planned in the simulation.
That was a bad one.
After recovering, she goes to a meeting with investors, where Sam, the co-founder of her company, is actively telling investors about the benefits of their product. A little later, Ren's boyfriend Danny suggests that she go for a walk, but Ren refuses as she still has a lot of work to do. After checking the simulation record, she finds a bug in the code left by her co-worker, and in a subsequent simulation, everything works as it should. In this way, 482 tests are passed. At night, she goes to the hospital to see her brother and gives him that simulation with the beach. Suddenly, his brain shows increased activity and his eye twitches. However, this small victory is marred by a message from their father, who wants to take Jared off life support. The next day, Ren goes to see her father. They discuss Otherlife and how it can help Jared. As a prominent neurobiologist, he argues that her formula compares to a drug and is unlikely to help in treating her brother, to which Ren accuses his father of just giving up, not wanting to fight anymore. When Ren returns to work, Sam tells her about a new idea for using Otherlife. The people from the Department of Corrections have come to him and suggested using Otherlife as a prison. Ren is very negative to this idea because they created Otherlife to empower the brain, not to trap it. Their dialogue ends in an argument, and Ren leaves the building. On her way out, she crosses paths with Danny, and to blow off steam, she drags him to bed. When they're finished, Ren gives Danny a snowboarding simulation. The guy is extremely impressed with what he saw and still can't believe it wasn't real. The moment Ren is distracted, Danny takes one of the experimental models meant for her brother and uses it, after which the guy starts convulsing. Sometime later, Ren is taken into custody, where Sem informs her that Danny has passed away. A lawyer hired by Sem offers the girl a deal. The government is willing to drop all charges against Ren if she agrees to test a virtual imprisonment of only 1 year, when in reality only a minute will pass. Ren agrees and is taken to a room for tests. She is very nervous as this will be her longest simulation, and in case there is a bug in the code, her brain could be severely damaged. The simulation begins, and she is transported to a small room with no windows or doors, with a large screen counting down the days spent. Food, water, and personal hygiene products are fed into the room through a small opening. After 24 hours, the color of the screen changes to red and shows a new number. Ren decides to make good use of this time and devises a code to help Jared out of his coma, as she assumes his subconscious is trapped in a traumatic memory and needs to be shown a way out. In this way, 365 days pass, and Ren looks at the screen eagerly, waiting to be released. But to her surprise, when the screen turns red again, the counter is refreshed and the number 001 appears again. Ren realizes that there was a bug in the code, and in anger she begins to smash everything around her. Exhausted, she lies on the floor as she suddenly feels a puff of wind and opens the food hatch. Ren finds herself in the middle of an empty hangar with food and water supplies and a guard post, which means it is all a lie. After stealing some clothes and car keys, she heads towards the city, where she notices an advertisement for Otherlife with Sem's face on it. She drives to her office, but it has been empty for a long time. Then she decides to ask the police for help, and they inform her that according to their information, she has been living in Italy for the past year. Ren goes to her house, where she learns that another man has been living in her apartment for a year. At this time, Sem arrives at the front door and asks to get into his car for a talk, but she doesn't trust him and runs away again. After escaping from Sam, Ren goes to get help from her friend, who thought all along that Ren had sold her part of the company and moved to another country. She breaks the good news: Danny is alive. The guy fell into a coma for a week, but doctors managed to save him. Denny tells her that Otherlife is actively used to serve sentences, and some of the convicts spend centuries in a virtual prison. Ren asks for help finding her hard drive with the simulation for her brother, since she has figured out how to complete the code during her incarceration, and they go together to the company building. Once inside, they run into Ren's co-worker, who was also part of the conspiracy. They manage to take the hard drive and escape the chase. As they drive away, Ren informs Danny that to make eye drops, they need a special printer, one of which is in her father's house. After finding the equipment, she immediately gets to work, which takes her all night. Toward morning, her father arrives and Ren tells him everything that has happened to her. Ren shows her father a new version of the simulation that is supposed to help Jared. She says that when Danny was underwater, he drowned by subconsciously choosing a version of how the simulation would run. She created a code that can rewrite memories, offering alternative ways for the simulation to run. According to her idea, if Jared were to remove the traumatic memory, he could escape the trap of his mind. Ren takes the new version of the substance and goes to her brother's hospital. She injects it into her brother and he opens his eyes, but moments later he begins to convulse, and Ren, not wanting to see Jared suffer, unplugs the life support machine. She stays by her brother's side in the hospital when Sem enters the room. He claims that Jared has made a choice to continue living in the dream world without waking up. Suddenly, Ren begins to see flashes of light and people from the testing room, which means it is all just a simulation. Waking up, she starts to break the equipment but is quickly stopped. After coming to her senses, Ren informs Sam that she is leaving the company. Ren is sure that Otherlife is still too raw and it is too early for it to enter the market. The next day, she receives a call from Sem, who has some important information. Reviewing the previous test, they discover that Ren managed to change the simulation on her own and thus get out. Sem asks the girl to conduct another test, but she flatly refuses. Ren tries to leave, but Sem forcibly drips liquid into her eye and she is imprisoned again. However, Ren manages to use her brain capabilities to speed up the time inside the simulation. She gets out of there much faster than supposed to, and when Sem is distracted, she wipes the remnants of the black liquid off her cheek and sends Sem to the virtual prison. The guy ends up in the same room as Ren. Days pass, and Sem's psychological state begins to deteriorate badly. The system fails, and Sem begins to have convulsions, but Ren waits for Sem to spend all 365 plus 1 day before taking him out of the simulation. They look at each other, realizing without words that Ren was right. After all, being trapped in your own mind is a terrible thing. In the final scene, Ren and her father go to the hospital. They finally let Jared go and turn off the life support machine.